So the way that the class structure is going to work is we'll start by just talking a little bit about meditation. What does it mean? How does it work? How do we do it? That kind of thing. And then we will do a short, very short breathing meditation to kind of reinforce some of those concepts. And after that, we're going to get into our topic for today. And our topic for today is all about how you can kind of start your day off right. Right? How does that usually go? So we'll get into why trying to kind of start your day off with a positive mindset is really important and how we can start doing this, right? Darrell, Isaac, Janelle, hello, welcome. Okay, so if you are new, please ask questions. That's kind of the benefit of learning in meditation in this kind of a setting. There's a lot of meditation apps out there which are wonderful, but sometimes you have a question and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right, or that doesn't really make sense. Just type your question into the chat and I will stop whatever I'm doing and answer it. And then, of course, if you're not comfortable doing that, or you think of a question after the class ends, I will put my email in the chat later. That way you can email me your questions. Go ahead, email me anything. All right. So let's get started. So meditation is a technique in familiarization. And you're probably like, what the heck's going on here? I want to relax. All right. I thought meditation was all about relaxing. Well, it is, but the method in which meditation relaxes us is based in familiarity, right? So if we think about something that you're really familiar with, right? Like, let's say like tying our shoe, right? Now, you can tie your shoe, I bet, with your eyes closed, upside down, on a roller coaster. I don't know, like all these crazy scenarios. You could tie your shoe without really much effort, right? Now, there was a time long ago where tying your shoe was literally the most complex activity and task of all time, right? Like 2 loops, and I don't know, it's tough, right? So what happened between then, when it was difficult, and now, right? Repetition, learning, becoming familiar with the techniques needed to tie your shoe. And a byproduct of that is that tying your shoe comes very naturally to you now, right? So the benefit of familiarization, familiarizing your mind with anything, familiarizing your body with anything, is that that thing starts to come more naturally to you, whether it's driving, everything that you've ever learned, right? So the same is true for our mind, our feelings, our emotions, how we react to situations, all of that we can train to make it better or worse, I guess, through meditation, because meditation is all about familiarization, right? So our goal with meditation is really to familiarize our mind with something. Now, in terms of relaxation, which is the most common entry point, meditation isn't just kind of pulling relaxation out of nowhere. You have a very peaceful kind of version of you in here all the time, right? It's there. Meditation is teaching you to become familiar with it, so that way it comes more naturally to you. So that way your kind of naturally peaceful mindset starts to show itself a little more often, right? With a little less effort. That's the goal, right? Does that sound good? Cool? Does that make sense so far? Hope so. So, in order to kind of do this, okay, Darrell, when I'm feeling sad, do I use thought to cheer me up, or let the feeling be through meditation? Very good question. So this is getting into kind of some different ways we can use meditation to help us when we're not feeling well, right? So the answer is you can do both, right? So there's a benefit. Let's say we're feeling sad or anxious about something, right? There's a huge benefit of investigating that, right? Why? Thinking, like critically thinking, like why is this kind of happening, right? There's also a massive benefit in what is kind of in meditation referred to as patient acceptance, right? Hey, I'm feeling sad right now, and that's okay, right? So both of those are really good ways of dealing with this through meditation. You just have to kind of decide, well, what do you think you need more right now, right? Do you want to do some investigation, or are you just feeling so upset that you just want to kind of let it sit, right? But really good question, and both of those are very useful techniques. Okay, so in terms of familiarizing our mind with whatever we want to, whether it's gratitude or kindness or lessening our anxiety, anything, the first step is to kind of reduce the busyness in our mind, right? So our mind is busy all the time, right? It's jumping from thought to thought all day long. And when that's happening, right, it doesn't, our mind doesn't really work in the most efficient way, right? So let's say we're like super anxious about something, right? Our mind's like really kind of bombarded with these anxious thoughts. We're starting to get upset about things that normally we wouldn't get upset about. Maybe, we're getting angry about things that we normally wouldn't get angry about, right? So a good first step with meditation is to learn how to relax our mind a little bit, right? Then we can use that newly relaxed mind to think about something, to become familiar with something. Ivy, then there is distraction, to move away from the unpleasant feelings. So purposeful distraction can be beneficial. Yeah, for sure, right? So a lot of what we talk about here is creating space, and we're talking about mental space. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes that can be physical space too. You know what? I got to step away from the situation for a little bit. And what happens? Then we start to look at it a little differently, right? So that's it's also a very good technique, right? Great. Okay, so how are we going to do this, right? How are we going to kind of relax our mind a little bit? So there's an analogy that I like to use to illustrate what's going on here. So if you imagine that you are at a lake, it's a beautiful day, there's no wind, the sun's shining, you can see the reflection in the lake, right? Pretty easy too, right? Now, if the wind picks up, it starts to rain a little bit, that reflection becomes less clear, right? And if it really starts to downpour, can't see the reflection at all, right? It's there, the reflection is there, it's just kind of obscured, right, by the busyness of the weather, right? So our mind is the exact same way. Normally, your mind is like, by default, this still lake, very cool, calm, collected, thinking reasonably about things, patient, right? And all of the distractions and anxieties and stress and bombardment of stimuli and thoughts that are bouncing into our mind all day long from all different directions, those are like raindrops, right, on the lake, right? They're like raindrops on our mind. And it's making it hard for us to access that peacefulness, right? It's there, just like the reflection is always there. It's just being hidden, right? So our goal is to, first and foremost, to clear away some of the raindrops, clear away some of our distracting thoughts. That way we can relax a little bit and then look at the reflection, investigate something, think about something, right? Become familiar with something. Cool? So the way that we do this is with something called single-pointed concentration. It is a fancy phrase that literally means not multitasking. which is easier said than done because we are very familiar with multitasking. We do it all day long, it honestly is almost all day long. Even when we think we're not multitasking, our mind is bouncing from thing to thing, right? So we've had a lot of training in multitasking. We have not had a lot of training in single-pointed concentration, focusing on one thing. So with meditation, that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start to train in single-pointed concentration. And there's a cool benefit of single-pointed concentration. You relax a little bit, right? When you're super focused on something, all those other bombardment of thoughts, they start to fade a little bit. Sort of like if you've ever been in the zone working, and you're working on a project, you lose track of time, and you don't, all the office noises, they're like gone. They're still there. Noises are there, but you don't hear them, right? It's the exact same concept, right? But we're going to start to do it intentionally, okay? And we're going to use our breath. This is breathing meditation. Probably heard of that. Pretty common. We're going to use our breath as our focal point. So we're going to focus so exclusively, so single-pointedly on our breath that all the other kind of thoughts that are bouncing around our head, they start to fade a little bit, right? So our goal here with breathing meditation is we're going to make a choice. I'm going to focus on my breath, right? I'm going to guide us so you can just kind of listen to what I'm saying. And then when you notice that you're not exclusively focused on your breath, right? Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or something coming up later, whatever it is, you're going to be like, oh, okay, not right now to those thoughts. And I'm going to go back to focusing on my breath. That is meditation. Sometimes you think meditation is just, never being distracted or blocking everything out. No, meditation is the practice of choosing to focus on one thing, noticing when you are no longer focused on that thing and being able to bring your attention back to it, right? That's training in single-pointed concentration. Ivy, maybe your mind is like the still lake, but ADD, ADHD is like hurricane brain. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Okay, so we're going to do a breathing meditation now. And it's going to be short, about 5 minutes. I don't have a timer or anything like that, but it's usually about 5 minutes. And this is a common misconception about meditation. You do not need to meditate for hours on end for it to be effective. It doesn't really matter how long, as long as you're doing it consistently, right? Repetition is how you learn, right? If you were trying to learn how to ride a bike and you rode a bike for 2 hours once a year, it's probably not going to go that well. But if you rode a bike for 5 minutes every day, I think you're going to learn eventually, right? Okay, so that's the goal here. We're going to do a short breathing meditation just to kind of get used to doing this, right? So you can kind of see what this feels like. Cool? Okay, so sit comfortably. Chair is fine. If you're sitting on the floor, that's also fine. Laying down, it's fine. Doesn't matter. There's no special, position that you need to be in order to meditate, right? Just make sure you're relatively relaxed. Otherwise, you're going to be worried about that and not focusing on your breath. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes and just pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we always do is we check in with ourselves. Ask yourself right now, how am I feeling in this moment? Happy, sad, tired, energetic? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you notice. Begin to take an interest in what your mind is up to. This is called mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully to those thoughts. So just take a moment, check in. How are you feeling now? And having done that, you can now turn your full attention to your breath, breathing in and out of your nose very gently, very naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths. You do not need to forcefully exhale the air. Just breathe as you normally would, in and out. And see if you can follow your entire in-breath and your entire out-breath. Fully present with your breath, breathing in and out, gently, naturally. At some point, you may notice that your mind drifts a bit, and it's no longer exclusively focused on your breath. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier in the day, or worrying about something coming up after class. Whenever you notice that this has happened, you can just say, "Not right now," to those thoughts, and gently, purposefully guide our attention back to breathing in and out. Gently, naturally. As you begin to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion. Following the air as it enters your nose. Sits and exits. Gentle breathing in and out. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice that it drifts. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your mind is drifting to something else and being able to bring your attention back to breathing, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to be happy, to access its naturally peaceful state. And you're doing so all on your own, with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So just continue breathing in and out gently, naturally for a little while longer. Allow yourself to enjoy sitting here in this moment, breathing. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd it go? Easy? Tough? Everyone's going to have a different experience. If you did find that difficult, well, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, right? When have you done this before, right? We're not usually, things, when we do them the first time, sometimes there's some growing pains, right? But the more that you do this, the more that you do a simple, short breathing meditation, your mind is going to start to get familiar with this. Right? And, normally when we try to sit down and do a breathing meditation, our mind's like, what are you doing? This is very strange. I normally am thinking about a lot of things. I don't like this, right? But over time, our mind will get used to doing this. And then when we want to do this, might be like, oh, you want to focus on one thing? Cool. Right? So we got to train our mind a little bit. Our mind is like a new pet. So something I like to always bring up, because I think it's really important for new meditators. If you're finding that your mind feels busier when you're meditating, this is very normal. And it's not that meditation is making your mind busier. It's that you're noticing how busy your mind is all day long for the first time, right? Which is kind of exhausting to think about. It's why we're so mentally drained at the end of the day, right? Because so many different thoughts, worries, distractions happening all the time. It's exhausting, right? Okay, so if you have any questions on breathing meditation, meditation in general, whatever, you can feel free to ask me at any time. But I'm going to move on to our topic for today, which is starting off your day right? Starting off your day in a positive way. So how do we normally start our day off? Right? Like we wake up, I'll just personally, I'm always late, right? I'm always late. And so when I wake up, I'm like, oh no, I'm late. So I'm already stressed, right? Instantaneously. Like there's not a moment, that I wake up and I'm like, I'm like, oh, I'm late. Right? So what's happening here, and maybe you don't have the same problem I do waking up late, but maybe you're checking your phone and looking at the news and getting upset about it, or you're thinking about what you have to do at work and you're getting stressed about that, right? Cup of coffee and try not to yell at somebody. That sounds about right. So regardless of what it is, we tend to start our day off letting our mind bounce from thing to thing, get worried about what's coming up, what happened, stress, right? And so the more that we do this, right, the more that we practice this, the better we get at it, right? So essentially, we have been kind of practicing getting stressed out in the morning a lot. And so we're very good at it. We're like pro. We're like like the NBA of getting stressed out in the morning, right? So we have to try to kind of reverse this a little bit, because it's all familiarity, right? There is no reason why we can't start our day off positively, generally each day, right? We just have to get used to doing some things that will help contribute to that, right? And not only is letting yourself kind of get riled up right in the morning, kind of tanking your happiness right before you get started, but it's training your mind to be stressed too, right? Just your mind is just getting used to being stressed. And so your mind's like, okay, I'm just going to worry about this stuff because that's what I do. So meditation, a huge part of it, is taking back control over what you want to focus on, right? Not what your mind wants to focus on, what you want to focus on. Cool? So we're going to talk about some things that you can do in the morning. You don't have to do them in the morning, but that's kind of the topic for today. But they're not exclusive to the morning. But we're going to talk about 3 things, and you can do one or all or none of them if you want to kind of help you start the day off right. Right? So the first thing I wanted to talk about is intention. Intention setting. You hear that? Oh, you should set an intention. Right? What does that mean? What is intention? So I like to define intention as an unwavering mental action. Or someone, a teacher I had once described it as an immovable wish, which I love. That's cool. An immovable wish. Right? So intention is a kind of positive mental action. And normally we don't really put a lot of credit into mental actions, right? We put a lot of credit into physical actions, but mental actions are vital for physical actions, right? Every physical action you do, whether it's, give somebody a hug, right? What happens? There's a moment where your mind has to be like, oh, I should give this person a hug, right? If that never happened, you would never give that person a hug, right? So giving someone a hug, to console them, very nice gesture, but there's a mental component, a mental hug, so to speak, right? That's the same with everything. Whether it's something as simple as pushing up my glasses, there's a very quick thought, oh, push up my glasses. So mental actions are a catalyst for physical actions. Physical actions could not take place without a mental action preceding it, right? Coming before it. I think that's the right word. So mental actions are important, right? Even though we don't really kind of think of them in that way. And intention is a mental action that is aimed at positivity, right? At least in the way that we're kind of looking at intention, right? Ivy, I have to have a fairly set schedule routine for mornings or I'll not get the day ever started. Yeah, that's a very common thing, right? So having a routine is really helpful. And why is having a routine helpful? Because it helps you get familiar with something, right? And then getting going becomes a little easier, right? Because you're familiar. I got to do this and this and this. Okay, there we go. Good. Okay, so setting an intention for the day, that's kind of what we're getting at, right? Keeping it small and specific is very important, right? So I don't know, maybe you're like, oh, my intention, I'm gonna set an intention for the day. And you're like, I'm gonna just kick ass at work. Just everything I do at work is gonna be great, all right? Which is awesome. I hope that happens. But it's kind of vague, right? Like, what's the barometer of success on that? So instead of, casting a wide net when we're starting with intention setting, it's helpful to get a little specific, right? So let's say we have anxiety, right? And we want to kind of work on that. So maybe we're like, okay, I'm setting an intention for today. Today, I'm going to check in with myself twice and see how I'm doing anxiety-wise, right? That's my intention, all right? I'm setting it. That's my goal. That's my wish, my immovable wish, right? So when we're doing intention setting, a lot of good things are happening. We're training our mind to focus on what we want to focus on. We're saying, hey, mind, this is what you're going to focus on today. And your mind's going to get off track, right? But we have that kind of set, and it's easier to recall what we want to be doing, right? Where we want to be going. Right? So I like to sometimes describe intention as a compass. Remember those? We don't really need those anymore. We got GPS. But a compass, what does it do? It points you in the general direction that you want to go, right? It doesn't tell you, okay, you're going to go left here and then right here. It's just a guide. It's a reminder of where you want to be heading. And that is what intention setting is all about. It's setting a reminder of what you want to be focusing on for the day. Hopefully something positive. I mean, we don't want to I'm not going to set an intention to just be upset. So not only is it great for helping us kind of gravitate towards positive or some positive thing that we want to accomplish, it also helps this kind of positivity come more naturally to us because we're taking a moment and basically we're training our mind to start the day off making a immovable wish to do something positive, right? And at first you might be like, that seems kind of dumb. I've been there, but everything that we learn and do is based in familiarity. And the more that we do this, our mind eventually is going to get used to starting the day off with a positive goal, right? All from intention setting. Cool? So just kind of a quick recap, because it's very important. Small, specific intentions, right? It can be very small, right? I'm going to say a nice thing to one person today. That's great. That's awesome, right? It's probably more than we've been doing. So, intention, right? There's the first thing. The second, which kind of plays into intention a little bit, I guess, is all about pacing. So everyone's kind of effort, time allotment, everything, it's all different, right? We're all kind of unique in that way, depending on what our life is like, right? And yet we are always comparing ourselves to other people, right? We've kind of like internalized this notion of comparing ourselves to other people. Remember when you were back in school? Time travel back to when you were in school. You're taking a test and somebody finishes first, right? And you're like, oh, what do you think? You're like, oh, dang, guess I don't know this as well. Or like, oh, I guess I'm not that smart at this subject, or right? All these things, just because we're comparing our pace to someone else, right? And we're all different, right? So pacing is extremely important for starting our day off positive, because if we are true to ourselves in terms of what our pace is, we prevent burnout, right? And we start to have a positive self-image, which is really important, right? So if we're kind of okay with moving at this speed, we're going to have a positive self-image. If we're constantly saying, hey, I should be doing this better or that better, we're starting to train ourselves that we're not good enough, that we're not as good as, whoever, right? So a big part of this is accepting what pace is good for you. Now, this can be related to intention, right? So going back to the idea of checking in with yourself to see if you're anxious. So maybe you're like, okay, my intention is to check in with myself to see when I'm anxious, right? And then we can say, okay, how many times is something I can commit to, right? Well, maybe your friend's doing this and they're like, I have set 5 alarms and I am going to check in 5 times. Fine, let them do that. What's good for you? What works for you? And then do that. Be okay with that. You don't have to do any more than that, as long as you're being honest with yourself about what pace is good for you, right? This is also really important for when you're starting a meditation routine, right? Somebody else might meditate for 15 minutes. You're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. It doesn't matter, right? You got to do you, right? So pacing is all about you doing you and being okay with the pace that you move at, right? So right in the morning, this is a good time to remind yourself, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do the best I can, at work, right? And I'm going to try to, do my work. I'm trying to get, things done. But, if I don't, because whatever, that's okay, right? We're like setting a nice pace for ourselves. We're not like, committing an insane amount of energy to it, right? Cool. Janelle, pacing can be hard for a perfectionist. Oh, yeah. So perfectionism is really interesting. I don't think I've done a class on that. Maybe I should. That'd be a good one, right? Would you like that? So perfectionism is interesting because it kind of boils down to like a concern for our own reputation, right? Oh, if I don't get this perfect, people are going to think I'm bad at it, right? Or something like that, right? So yeah, pacing, we like increase, we do a pace that's not us in order to try to please other people, and it kind of backfires on us a lot of the times. Oh, you'd like one on that? Okay, cool. I'll put one together. We'll do that. That'll be good. I always need new ideas. That's great. You keep them coming. Okay, and so then the third thing I want to talk about is joyfulness. And, we're talking about like starting our day off right and happy. So you're probably like, oh, joyfulness is like defining the definition with the definition kind of thing. But if our goal is to start our day joyfully, then we have to kind of understand a little bit about where is joyfulness coming from, right? So that's where we're kind of going to get into here. Joyfulness is like a secret ingredient. Right? It does a lot of good things. Natural effort, that's a big one for it, right? If you enjoy something, what happens? You make time for it, right? I love video games. I play video games all the time. I find time to play video games because I enjoy it, right? So natural effort is a great byproduct of joyfulness, right? And also, when we're doing something kind of joyfully, we're very present. We're like naturally present. We don't have to try to be present. We're like there. We're in it, right? Which is great. That's a huge component of being happy moment to moment, is being present, right? We talk a lot about that on this channel. Isaac, totally understand. At first, meditating was like hell for me, especially when my ADHD keeps kicking in, but now I managed to meditate for at least 1 hour. That's awesome. And so it's really important. It's so easy to forget how far we've come, right? Because we're always moving on to the next thing. So put that away in the back of your mind. If you're ever feeling discouraged, recall that. Like, think about that. Like, look how far I've come. That's really a great motivator, right? To remind us the benefits of doing this. Awesome. Isaac, all comes down to patience. Yes, patience is a huge part of this, and pacing and patience go hand in hand, right? We have to be patient with ourselves and accept the pace that we need to go at, right? Very good. So, you're probably like, okay, well, joyfulness, that's cool and all, but what about when I'm doing something that is not like fun? Like, I don't know, going to work. I don't know, maybe you love going to work. So we got to investigate a little bit about where joy comes from. So we normally kind of instinctively feel that joy, happiness, it comes from the activity, right? So I will use video games because that's something that I like to do. But you can slot in whatever you'd like to do, in any activity that you like to do, right? So there are times when I'm playing video games with my friends and I'm having a great time. I'm laughing, right? We're having the best time ever, right? And that's cool. But there's also been times where I'm playing the exact same game with the exact same people in the exact same situation, and I'm not having a great time. I'm frustrated. I'm not in a good mood, right? So if video games equaled happiness, then anytime I played them, I would be happy, right? But we can see just by a very simple kind of thought experiment that is not the case. That is not always the case, right? So there has to be something else going on. And this is a huge topic in meditation, and we don't really have time today to talk about it. But the kind of takeaway here is that instead of the activity causing us happiness, a happy mind will enjoy the activity. Does that make sense? It's like a little reversed, right? So we normally think that, like, I don't know, like skiing or something, it's super fun, right? But it's really our mind being peaceful and relaxed, engaging in that activity that makes us enjoy it, right? Ivy, be like river otters, make a game of everything. That's a good idea, yeah. That's great. Having fun. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. That's actually a great segue for where I'm going. Okay, so sorry, just lost my train of thought. So we want to bring it, when we're trying to do things joyfully, it's more about bringing a joyful mind to the activity than necessarily enjoying the activity, like inherently, right? So you like going to work? Yeah, I don't know. Like it's not the best, you know? There's other things I'd probably like to do. And so when I go to work, what happens? I'm like, oh, I gotta go to work. long day. I got a lot of projects, right? What is that? It's like negative mind, right? So I'm starting to make this connection with work is negative, work is negative, work is negative, work is negative. And then repetition, familiarity, my mind just is like, work. And I instantly am getting stressed and upset, right? So the goal with joyfulness is to try to do some things to relax your mind. That way you can bring the relaxed mind into work or whatever you're doing, right? Sometimes this is described as being kind of like a child at play, right? Think about it like a kid playing with like a block of wood. Now we would be like, that's super boring. I'm not interested in that at all. But that kid is like, nothing else matters, man. That block of wood is a hat. I'm eating it. It's a train, right? Nothing else going on right now matters but this block of wood, right? Now, the block of wood's not inherently fun, but because the child is so engaged and focused single-pointedly on the block of wood, like a joyful, interested mind engaging with the block of wood, it's pretty cool. So that's what we want to try to do. We want to kind of be like more like a child at play, which kind of goes back to what Ivy was saying about, making a game of things, like having some fun with your day, right? Cool? Sound good? So quick recap, intention, right? So this is what I want to focus on today. And, try to kind of recall that every now and again to keep your mind on track. Pacing, being okay with how much time you can commit to that thing you want to do, or just commit to anything that's going on in the day. Just be okay with you, right? Don't compare yourself to what other people are doing. This will help you kind of build a nice positive self-image. And then finally, joy. And this one is all about kind of rewiring where we think joy comes from, right? So instead of joy coming from the activity, joy comes from our happy mind engaging in the activity, right? So a great way to kind of start to cultivate some joy in the morning is doing a quick breathing meditation, right? Because it really puts you in the present moment, which is great training for joyfulness, because we're choosing to focus on our breath, right? And then, noticing when it drifts and bringing it back. So breathing meditation is a great way to kind of encourage our mind to be relaxed and happy and joyful as we go into other activities throughout the day. Cool? Okay, so I'm going to do a quick meditation now. We're going to do, it's going to be a similar kind of thing as we did before. It'll be about maybe a little longer. It'll be a breathing meditation, and then I'm going to throw in a couple of other things to kind of reiterate what we were talking about today. Cool? All right. So sit comfortably once again. If you weren't happy with your last seating arrangement, great time to change. And you can go ahead and close your eyes. And we're going to do another short meditation. So once again, check in with yourself. How are you feeling now? Different than before? The same? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just noticing. We're practicing taking an interest in what our mind is up to. And having done that, you can once again turn your full attention to your breath, breathing in and out, gently, naturally. Stay focused on your breath for the entire inhale. And then stay focused on your breath for the entire exhale. Just check in again. Where's your mind right now? Is it still focused on your breath, or is it thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or something coming up later? If it's drifted a bit, you can just say not right now to those thoughts and bring our attention back to breathing. In, out, gently, naturally. Part of breathing meditation is intention setting. I'm going to focus on my breath for the next 5 minutes. That's our intention. Breathing in and out. Gently, naturally. Going at our own pace. Not worrying about how many times we get distracted. It doesn't matter. Just keep bringing your attention back to your breath. Breathing meditation is a great way to cultivate joyfulness. We can kind of see it in action here. When you are single-pointedly focused on your breath, you start to notice some things about breathing that you hadn't noticed before. Maybe you notice how the air feels cool each time you breathe in. How interesting. And that air, it feels warmer each time you breathe out, doesn't it? How interesting. Maybe you're noticing your body moving alongside your breath, your shoulders rising, falling, chest expanding, contracting, your whole body an active participant in each breath. When you engage in breathing meditation like a child at play, with interest, some of these things start to pop up. You're starting to find subtle joys, subtle joyfulness in breathing. How cool is that? That you can enjoy something as simple as breathing in and out. A focused and peaceful mind can enjoy any activity. And so that is your goal. You're going to start training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on, to be fully present with the things that you're doing, so that your mind starts to naturally gravitate towards joyfulness. So just take the next couple of moments, just kind of sit with that. Think about how your life could be improved if you were able to start your day feeling positive, joyful, Okay. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, breathing meditation, kind of interestingly enough, touches on each of the things that we did, right? So, when we're doing breathing meditation, we're setting an intention, or at least we should be, right? I am going to focus on my breath, right? It's not just happening, I'm making a mental choice to do this, right? That is good stuff. Thanks, Janelle. So there's intention in there, right? And then there's also pacing, right? So not worrying about how long, right? Doesn't matter if one of our friends does it for an hour and we only have 30 seconds, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, right? Going at your own pace, very important for breathing meditation, is kind of built into there. And then we can see the kind of power of joyfulness, and we can see this new way we're thinking about where joy comes from by doing breathing meditation. Because normally if I was like, is breathing fun, you'd be like, no. Absolutely not. It is quite boring. Or you'd be like, I never really thought about that. Right? It's just like, you're not even a thought. So when we really start to get kind of single pointedly focused, present with our breath, we start to notice some cool things about breathing, right? We're finding some subtle joys in the activity that we're engaging in. Our mind is relaxed and interested and positive in what's happening. We're enjoying something as mundane as breathing, right? So the same can be done with other activities, right? And this is the benefit of doing these things in the morning, because all the activities we're going to do after that, we kind of are going to engage in them with a positive mindset, and maybe we're going to find we enjoy our day a little bit more, right? Crystal, counting breath still works for me. Then definitely stick with that. Crystal's referring to, there's a kind of an alternative style of breathing meditation. And if you're someone who is very anxious, I highly recommend counting meditation. Essentially, you're just counting your breaths. It's the same concept as breathing meditation, but you breathe in and out, and in your head you're like 1, and then whenever you lose track, or you're like, I don't know what number I was at, or I'm not really thinking about that, then you start again at 1. So it's just a little variation, but it's very good if your mind is really, really busy, because you're like giving your mind a job, right? Minds like that, right? They like a checklist. Ivy, now I'm sleepy. All right, well, you can go to bed. It's over. Isaac, during meditating, there's a lot of different methods, like emptying your mind. Imagine in a scenario like a mountain or ocean, or focus on your breathing. Which one is accurate, though? All, right? So all meditation is choosing to focus on one thing and being able to bring your attention back to it when it drifts. Now, sometimes we will do like a thought experiment, right? Or a visualization, right? And so we're single pointedly focused on the visualization, right? And then when we notice that we're thinking about something else that's not that, well, we're going to bring our attention back, right? Meditation. Or the mountain meditation you're referring to, right? It's a visualization where we're really kind of we're imagining ourselves as a mountain and thinking like what kind of a mountain goes through over the course of a year. And then when we notice that we're not thinking about that anymore, we got to bring our attention back to it. So this called the object of your meditation, right? What you're focusing on. The object of your meditation, it can be anything, right? Meditation is just a technique of training and familiarity by focusing single pointedly on this kind of object that you're focusing on. Hopefully that's helpful. Really, you should experiment, and if you gravitate towards one, like Crystal was saying, she really likes doing the counting meditation. Just do that. Just go with that, right? If you really like kind of the visualizations, go with that, right? And then you can branch out a little bit, try some other things, but it's good to get proficient at one of them. If you find one that's working for you, go with that, right? Okay, cool. So that's all for today. Fun times as always. If you had a good time, come on back next week. We do a different topic each week. I don't know what the topic's going to be. I'll figure it out probably on Tuesday. But come on back, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing to my YouTube channel, that'd be awesome. It's very helpful for me. Let's YouTube/Google know that people are interested in this, which is wonderful. And if you are like, hey, this is super cool, I am totally into this, I want to keep learning about this, I do one-on-one classes, which are really, really good for focusing on something that's pertinent to your life, right? So maybe you start your day off great, and maybe that's like not a thing that you have to worry about. Well, we can focus on whatever it is that you are interested in learning about meditation for. So whether it's anxiety or feelings of loneliness, whatever. So if that's something that is interesting to you, you can just email me. We'll find a time to meet. I do it over Zoom. Very casual, very low key, right? Very relaxed. Okay. Just typing my email in the chat, and I'm also going to say it, Keith@meditationbreaks.com. Email me about anything. Okay. Carol, thank you once again, Keith. Always outstanding. Thank you for being here, Carol. Ellen, thank you for always being here. Ed, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here. Oh, Patrick, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that those that that are new had a good experience. Keep at it, and remember, the most important thing in learning meditation is consistent practice. Whether that's 30 seconds each day or 3 minutes or whatever, it doesn't matter. Consistent practice, you're going to start to see some results. Cool? All right. Take care. I'll see you guys next week.